Hello, this is an assessment of a Bosendorfer Strauss model, 170 centimeters long, that's 5 foot 9 inches long. Now it's got an 88 note keyboard. It's come into our workshop area to be assessed with a view to restoring it as necessary. It was originally purchased in Vienna where it was made, and it's got a very good set of ivory keys here. It's got an original French polish on, which is beginning to show signs of wear, as you can see. There's a top lid which is got quite substantial cracking. I see a bit of veneer missing there too. So if it was our stock piano, we would definitely refinish it in modern polyester. This is an example of a 1930s Blüthner that we've got in stock and has been fully restored and repolished, as you can see. Now, if it's a rosewood piano, we'd French polish it, but black pianos we don't French polish because it's extremely difficult to get right, and the modern polyester looks very suitable for a black piano anyway. This is a rosewood Steinway upright. One problem with Bosendorfers is getting a date on them, because the serial number is really hard to read. It's actually on the soundboard under there. You can see there is a number there, but really I spent a long time trying to work out what the number was. The piano, I think, is between 1910 and 1930. It can't be any later than 1938 when it was brought over from Vienna. I would guess, well, I'm sticking my neck out saying 1911, but this number is, I think it's 20 something, which would make it 1911-ish, but it could be 26, which is a lot later, 1930s, so real problem there. It definitely, anyway, if you have some of these Strauss models have got the old Viennese action, which is definitely to be avoided if you want the normal playing action. This is the standard action, so that's important, and that's a damping system and is working well. There is a serious problem on this piano, unfortunately, and I don't know if you can see the crack on the soundboard there. That in itself is just an indicative of drying out, and is not necessarily a fatal thing. A bit more serious, there's a crack here running through the bass bridge, but again, that's not going to affect the piano desperately, though it can sometimes, but it hasn't in this case. Well, the piano's been fully restored at some stage. Looking at the colour of the strings, I'd say in the 70s, but that's a bit of a guess. And the tuning pins are much larger than they were originally, so oversized pins. That's correct if you restring the piano. So I had not had a new WREST plank under there. Now, string quality in the bass is really, as it should be, very pleasant. A bit weak down there, but those bichords are excellent. But we get a problem as we go along. You're going to hear it soon. That's fine down there, right up to this break point, and then as you can see, a very serious problem. So what's causing that? The hammers are obviously not reaching the string at that point, and these ones here has gone wildly out of tune. So if we look down here, we'll see what the problem is, and if you look there, you'll see that the WREST plank is broken, basically dried out and just broken. So either it was a bad WREST plank that was put in when it was restored. Well, it wasn't actually, was it? Because it was oversized pins, so it's the original WREST plank. But it hasn't coped with central heating, and that's the result. And underneath at this point, the hammers are actually hitting the WREST plank and not hitting the strings. Now, the minimum that could be done to repair that would be to replace the WREST plank in this area. If it was our stock piano, we would definitely replace the whole WREST plank, because these are very oversized tuning pins anyway. And once you've got the whole piano apart, which you have to do the WREST plank, then obviously it makes sense to do the whole WREST plank, which doesn't take a lot more, or costs a lot more than doing just part of it. There's a question here. Because these bass strings are actually very good, and the treble ones too, sound very pleasant. There's actually one string missing here, but that's just a one-off really. I can't see why that should be missing, and the others look as though they're well made, well put on, well restored originally. So it's just possible to replace the tuning pins, replace the WREST plank, take the tuning pins off, take the whole thing apart, keep all the strings where they are, and then to put new WREST plank in and small tuning pins, because you've got a new WREST plank, and that solves the problem. You've kept your strings. I'm not sure if we would recommend that, but it's possible to do. We've done it once before on a fully restored Bechstein upright that had a WREST plank problem. It came into us, somebody had fully restored it, The restoration was very good, but the WREST plank was no good. That was an older Bechstein, and that often happens with them, and we've had to do more than one that have been restored, but the WREST plank needs redoing. So WREST plank, that's underneath these tuning pins, that's what needs replacing. As a stock piano, we do the whole thing. A valuable piano, Strauss Bosendorfer of this age, and does have an excellent underlying tone. By the way, you will find this number on, there's a short number on all these Bosendorfers too. Nothing to do with the serial number. It'd be good to log those though, because perhaps they do help us to age the piano. I haven't got a log of them so far. These Bosendorf beautifully designed and technician friendly. You've just got one screw here on the front rail that comes down, and then if you take that right down, the whole action comes out. So the action comes out with these cheeks attached. Very sensible design. Got some tuning dates on the piano there. I really like it when pianists put these things on because it gives you a bit of history. As you can see, 2002 obviously wasn't a broken WREST plank at that point, so it's happened since 2002. Now that's the action, and the hammers sound really good. They could do a little bit of voicing. See, there has been played a reasonable amount, and it's also gone out of regulation. A bit noisy, the action, partly because it's out of regulation. If you were to replace anything, I'd probably replace these rollers. In fact, that would probably be helpful to do. It will make it less noisy. It would automatically regulate it, bringing the hammers up. I don't think there's any need to change hammer shanks and rollers on this one. They're tight. One of the things we look at is to see whether the hinges are tight. They're tight, they're not too tight. Perhaps just beginning to get slightly on the loose side. So that's an assessment of a Bosendorfer 170 Strauss model, and really well made piano, and one of our favourites. We do fully restore these models quite often. The problem is there's not enough of them in the UK. Up here we have a problem on this one, but the WREST plank has gone. So minimum needed is really a new WREST plank. Whether we restring or not, normally we definitely restring, but these strings are really good strings, so I'd have to think long and hard about that. It won't be any difference price-wise really, because it takes almost the same amount of time. We've got to dismantle the whole piano. The soundboard at the same time needs shimming, so while we do the WREST plank, we'll shim the soundboard, refinish it. The frame is quite well finished. It could be refinished as well, so there's quite a lot of possibilities, and repolishing the piano would be a lovely idea as well while the piano is being worked on. Rich sounding pianos these, and up there, as you can see, can't play beyond this point. Thank you very much for listening.